Good morning, mathematicians. Today we'll be doing lesson 8.5, formula for the area of a rectangle. And today we will be doing just that. Our objective is to use a formula for the area of a rectangle. Let's get started with our warm-up. Go ahead and do these three problems on your board. Alright, I'll say the problem and you say the answer. 6 times 7 equals 4 times 8 equals 7 times 9 equals. Go ahead and erase your boards and let's get started on the next set. Remember that as we do problems like these, we know the fact 7 times 5, we can do that in a snap, and then we just add on our 2 zeros at the end. Again, I'll say the problem and you say the answer. 70 times 50 equals 40 times 60 equals 90 times 300 equals. Go ahead and erase your boards and set those to the side for the day. Go ahead and turn to page 232 in your math journal. We're going to take a look at the math message for today. It says find the area of each rectangle, and we see here that 1 square is equal to 1 centimeter squared, and like we learned in that video, area is measured in square units just like we see here, and the area is the space on the inside. So as you're figuring out the area, remember it's the space that is covered by the inside of the shape. Go ahead and write down the area of these three figures. The area for rectangle A is 8 centimeters squared. The area for B is 9 centimeters squared. And the area for C is 30 centimeters squared. Thumb up if you got those. Great, now let's take a look at number 2 on that same page. It says fill in the table, and it shows us here that we have rectangle A, and then across it says there are 4 squares per row because that's the number of squares per row. Then it asks how many rows, then how many squares total, and then what's a number model we could write. So for rectangle A, it already gave us the 4 that are going across here, and we know that there are 2 rows, so I'm going to write down 2, and we already said the area was 8 square units, so we know that there are 8 total squares. Who can help me with a number model I could write for this rectangle? We know that we could multiply 4 times 2 equals 8, so I'm going to write down 4 times 2 equals 8 for my number model. Who can walk me through letter B? Yes, there's 3 squares per row, 3 rows, 9 in all, so 3 times 3 equals 9. And finally, who can walk me through letter C? Yep, for C there are 5 squares per row, 6 rows, and we can do 5 times 6 equals 30. Turn and talk to your partner right now about a pattern or rule you may have noticed to help you figure out the area of a rectangle. As many of you might have already noticed, there's actually a formula or a rule for finding the area of a rectangle. Anytime that you have a rectangle, you can multiply the length or the base, which you could always look at as the bottom of the rectangle when you're thinking of it, and the width or the height, which is the adjacent side or the side next to the length or the base. If you do that, you'll be able to get the area every time. So one formula could be area equals length times width, or you could do area equals base times height. Either one of those would be correct because they mean the same thing. So when looking up here, that's what we did with our number model. We did our length times our width equals our area. Let's take a look at page 233, which will be part of your work for today. I want to take a look at problem E, just because there's something a little tricky about E, F, G, H, and I, to make sure you're aware of it. So looking at E, we want to look at the base and the height. And I'm going to label down here, as my base, and then up here as my height. And I can see that my base is 1, 2, 3, 4 squares long. So I'm going to write in 4 centimeters. And then how much is my height in centimeters? Turn and talk with your partner. Great. We notice that it's not just 1, 2 squares, but we have this half of a square here for our height also. So our height is actually 2.5 centimeters, or 2.5 centimeters. And to get our area, we know that we have to multiply our length times our width, or our base times our height. But we can also go ahead and count the squares, like it says here, to figure that out. So I can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and I can combine 2 halves, so 9 and 10 to get my total area, so 10 centimeters squared. And I know that when I multiply 4 times 2.5, I also get 10 centimeters squared. For F, G, H, and I, you will also be looking at parts of squares instead of just whole squares. And lastly, before I send you off to do your work on your own, I want to go over a quick reminder of coordinate grids because we have some of that work today. Remember that the first number in the ordered pair is the number that you have to go over 4, and then the second number in the ordered pair you have to go up. So this first ordered pair for the letter A is 2, 6. So I know that I go over first, so I have to go over 1, 2, and then I have to go up 6. So over 2, 1, 2, up 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I can make my point right there and label it A. So you'll do the same for the remainder of the points, just making sure that you always go over first and then up second. Otherwise, you will get the incorrect answer if you do it the reverse way. So today for your work, we already did our mental math. You can check that off. You'll be finishing Math Journal page 233 because 232 is done. Finishing Math Journal page 234. Math boxes 8.5 if you haven't finished already. And then if you're moving on to activity B, you'll do Math Masters 257, area of a rectangle, and then Blend Space Practice E. And if you're doing activity C, you'll do Math Masters page 258, and then Blend Space Practice G. Make it a great day.